Hi guys, so today we have a different kind of appointment. So this particular client loves to interlock his hair. He generally leaves around 3 months in between each interlock session. His hair does grow. It tends to grow much more fluffy on the top, if that makes sense. So the most important thing for his hair is to separate it back into those parts first of all. So I do spray water, and after spraying water, then I go ahead and I start roughly combing it just so I can see where the part kind of begins. Then when I finished roughly combing it, I go ahead and go in with my gel and I redefine that part there. And then I start doing my interlocking, and generally I will only get 1 or 2, maximum 3 passes with this particular client. He is quite tender-headed. And as he doesn't want any crochet work, I am just using my interlocking crochet hook to pull that hair back inside the lock. So if you see all those little hairs that have come out the back of the lock, very, very gently with minimal pressure, I am just going to pull them back through. So I'm putting my crochet hook slightly down the body of the lock, just a little bit, and then grabbing that hair that's pulling free and pulling it back into the lock. This isn't my favorite method. I would much prefer to use a crochet hook at this point, a very small micro crochet hook, but this is what my client wants. And sometimes you just have to give people what they want. In the long term, I think he probably will end up crocheting his hair. He has crocheted it once before around a year ago, but I just think he prefers to use the interlock as his method, and then the large crochet hook to just pull the hair back in again. So we are just continuously doing the same method. So first of all, we're using water, separating the part roughly, then going in with some gel. The gel I'm using today is from Red One, Full Force. And then we're going ahead redefining the part. After redefining the part, we are interlocking. I'm always trying to get as many passes as I can to make it as neat as possible. But again, sometimes you can't do 3 or 4 passes with interlocking, especially if the lock is big or if the client is tender-headed. They might be happy enough with 1 or 2. If you can get away with 1 or 2, that's fine. Then after I've made my 1 to 2 passes, the excess hair that's kind of sticking out underneath, I'm using my crochet hook to bring it back inside the lock. So bit by bit, I'm not bringing it all back in one go. I'm taking it in my hand and then gently putting it back into one place and then bringing it down the lock, slowly going down. So it might take 5 or 6 or 7 goes to get it back down into that lock, because sometimes the hair is quite long after we've done it. And then once I've made sure all that hair is back in that lock, I do then go ahead and do a little bit of palm rolling, just very, very slightly, to encourage the hair to kind of stick in more and stay against the lock. So when it's grown, it'll be in the lock as opposed to sticking out. I really hope you guys can see, because I know for some of this footage, it's a little bit down in the corner for you guys to be able to see exactly what I'm doing. But I am just taking that excess hair that didn't naturally go into the lock when I interlocked, and I am just putting it back into the body of the lock there. If I was adding in some micro crochet work at this point, I would be micro crocheting directly underneath where that interlock is there. So those pieces that are coming out that we were talking about before, I would be using a 0.5 or 0.75 crochet hook, and I would just be working them back into the lock with a micro crochet hook, which in my opinion keeps them in the lock more, as opposed to using this quite large interlocking hook. But overall, sometimes it's just about doing what your client wants to do and making your client happy. As long as we're not damaging the locks and the client is happy, all is well. Thanks for watching, guys.